What's up, my beautiful people? Welcome to my channel. My name is Coach Magali, and if you're new here, welcome. I am a personal trainer here to show you how fitness and nutrition can be easy and simple to do. That's exactly what I'm going to do today. Like the video, comment below, let's get into it. So in this video, I'm going to go over a very detailed, very thorough process in which a personal trainer, go through a fat loss stage. My goal is to provide you a guide, a framework, step-by-step process that you can apply to your journey and kind of figure out what you need to do to achieve that result of weight loss and fat loss. Because we're all individuals, I'm going to go over different tips and tricks throughout that process to explain how you could apply that information to you if your situation is unique or you're in a different situation than I am. Confidence that what you're doing is going to work. So now let's get into it. How me, a personal trainer, is going to lose weight and the step-by-step process to achieve that. So the very first thing that I ever do with myself, with my clients, with anybody that I'm trying to help them in this journey is I assess their current situation and figure out what their goals are. You need to be very careful with examining this part. And the reason is this is going to determine which path is going to be most effective for you. Like I said, we're all individuals. We all require different things. So our path is going to be different. And that comes from where we are now and what our current situation is. So I am currently 25. I weigh 165 pounds. And my goal is to weigh 155. So 10-pound weight loss. Strength training 4 to 5 days a week. I eat So then I say, okay, this is where I'm at right now, and I want to be at 155 pounds. So what do I need to do to get myself, and what changes do I need to make that happen? So the very first thing, like I said, assess where you're at, get all the information. If you don't know how many calories you're eating, maybe start with, I have these eating habits. If you're not working out at all, is there anything you want to start doing? And gather all this information into a piece of paper, into a document, and this way you have things to refer to and information to make further decisions with. The second step is to focus on nutrition. With weight loss, with fat loss, the most important component that you need to be worried about is being in a calorie deficit. Whether you've heard this term or not, it still applies to you. You are a human being. We all follow the same laws of physics. This is science. It's not an opinion. And being in a calorie deficit is the only way to lose weight. The only way. Now, does this mean you have to count calories? No. And that's something that people confuse. Calorie counting and calorie deficit are not the same thing. Calorie deficit is eating less calories than you need to maintain your weight, and counting calories simply means tracking the calories that you eat in a day. Those two are not the same thing. So just to keep that in mind, you don't have to count your calories, but you do need to be in a calorie deficit. And for me, the method that I prefer to do to make sure that I'm in a calorie deficit is to track my calories and my macros, which are your proteins, carbs, and fat. These three give your food calories, which therefore you track those calories. But you can also do the keto diet, because the keto diet reduces the carb intake, which reduces your calories. You can also do intermittent fasting, which reduces the time that you eat, therefore reduces your calories. You can try less snacking throughout the day. That's going to reduce the calories that you eat, puts you in a calorie deficit. You can choose 1,000,001 methods, and that's where the individual plan and your own choice comes into play. You don't have to do anything I do. You can choose a different method, but the reality is we do have to be in a calorie deficit. So for me personally, I've tracked my calories for years now. It's almost second nature to me. I do it all the time. So I have an idea of what I'm eating right now, how many calories I'm intaking, how much protein I'm eating, how many carbs, how many fats. And I also take my weight daily. This is just something that I've always done, and I like to keep track of my weight often because I don't want to not weigh myself and 5 months later be like, what? I want to know, because I can catch it early if I see it going in a direction that I don't want it to go. The combination of having my calories tracked and knowing around what I'm eating, and also having an idea of what my weight is behaving like. And as of now, I've been around 165 for the past few weeks. So it's safe to say that the weight that I'm at right now is a result of the calories that I'm eating. And if my weight is maintaining, that means that the calories that I'm eating is maintaining my weight. So we talked about a calorie deficit being below the calories that you need to maintain your weight. So what I need to do is figure out how many calories I need to cut from what I'm eating right now to put me in that calorie deficit. Whether you're tracking your calories or not, that process is the same. So you can either track your calories and subtract X amount to create a deficit. You can choose any other dietary method to do that. It's all about calories. And the reason why I like to track is because there's no guesswork. There's no overthinking it. The numbers don't lie. The numbers are there. If I track everything correctly and consistently, I have all the information I need to make a decision moving forward. If I didn't track my food, it would be a little bit more difficult to know what to change, to know exactly where I need to go from there. So you don't have to track forever. It's just a really good method to lose weight and to make it as accurate as possible. But it's not the only way. So now that I know around how many calories I'm eating and that I know that that maintains my weight, what I want to do is figure out how much to cut, right? So I currently eat around 3250 calories. Now the reason why that's so high is because I've built that over time by putting on muscle. When you put more muscle on, your body starts burning more calories so you can eat more. And I've been doing this for 5-6 years now, so as you can see, it's given me enough time to build that number up. But whether you're starting at 1500 calories, 1400 calories, or 2000 calories, that's going to be your maintenance. If you don't know what your maintenance calories are, or you've never even paid attention to that, I will link a video below from Jordan's site, and this video is a great breakdown of how to do this. So watch that if you have no idea what your calorie intake is or what it should be, and then come back to this video. Once you have an idea of what your maintenance calories are, that is to maintain your weight, then you can make that decision on how much you want to cut down. So for instance, since I'm eating 3250 calories, I can confidently cut down to around 2700. Now the reason why I can drop so much is I have so many calories in the tank. So I wouldn't be starving myself by eating that little. Now, someone who's eating 1500 calories to maintain their weight, you don't want to drop to 800 calories, right? You don't want to drop that much because that's starving yourself. So then your drop would be a little bit less than that, maybe 250 calories, maybe 3, and then go from there. There is no simple answer to this. There is no one right way to cut calories and an exact percentage. Basically, the lower your calories to maintain your weight is, the less of a drop you want to do. The reason is you don't want to starve yourself because that messes things up on a whole different level. Think of anywhere from 250 calories all the way up to 800 calories. It's all going to depend on what your starting point is, and that's going to determine how much you need to cut. So I'm going to change my macros to about 2700 calories a day. That's my first step with this whole thing. I'm going to set my protein goal. My protein goal is going to be 1 gram per pound of body weight. So my protein goal should be around 165. If that number is way too high for you, maybe start at a little bit less than that. Whatever number sounds realistic for you, and then over time try to aim for that 1 gram per pound of body weight. So once you have your protein goal, whether it's 1 gram per pound of body weight or a little bit less than that, you're going to now figure out your carbs and fats. The beautiful thing of weight loss and fat loss and being in a calorie deficit, as long as your protein is where it needs to be, your calories are where they need to be, you can choose to do lower carb or higher carb, low fat or high fat interchangeably, and they don't make a difference. So if you want to follow more of a keto style diet, you decrease the carbs, you increase the fat. If you want to do a more high carb, low fat diet, then you can do that as well. We figured out how many calories we need to eat in a day. We have our protein goal, and we figured out what our carbs and fats are. Now we're going to use an app. You can use MyFitnessPal. I personally use Carb and Diet Coach. It is a paid app, but it is so worth it, so much better than MyFitnessPal or any method you want to track those calories. And that's going to ensure that we're accurately measuring what those are. Now again, if you're choosing a different method to create a calorie deficit by choosing a more rigid diet, a different plan, Weight Watchers, whatever the case may be, use whatever platform or method they have. But because I'm talking strictly about calorie counting and macro tracking, we're going to use an app for that. So I have my calories and my nutrition numbers ready to go. What changes do I have to make in my diet choices to allow myself to eat less calories and stick to my diet and be able to maintain the calorie deficit consistently? So because I was in a bulking phase before, because I was trying to gain muscle, I was eating a lot of processed food, high carb, high calorie foods. But because I needed to fit a lot of calories in my diet, I needed to eat those foods that didn't keep me full so that I can keep eating and meet that goal. So now I'm going to do the opposite. We need foods that are going to keep me fuller for longer and require less calories. So that's going to be your veggies, your Greek yogurts, your lean proteins, your oatmeals, your berries, your fruits. All of these different foods have a lot of fiber, have a lot of nutrients, have a lot of protein, but they're not super high in calorie. Now, does this mean that I'm going to cut out all junk food? I'm never going to eat pasta again? Absolutely not. I do not function that way, and I never make my clients do that either. All I say is, instead of having 5 servings of hot Cheetos a day, maybe do 1. If you're having 10 Cokes a day, maybe start with 1. And making these little changes to adjusting the amounts that you're consuming these foods, but still allowing yourself that pleasure of enjoying those good things in your diet, which you can in a very healthy way and still lose weight, as long as we're in that calorie deficit. So basically what I'm going to do is just make 80% of my diet those healthy, nutritious foods, and then the 20% whatever I want it to be, as long as I fall in that calorie intake. So for instance, I already ate, let's say, 2,000 calories of my meals. I met my protein goal, and if I want to have a bowl of ice cream, I can. And that'll be perfectly fine, because I'll still be under the 2,700 goal that I set for myself. So obviously, this specific portion is going to be very individual to you, very individual to your calorie intake needs, your goals, what your diet currently looks like, what you want it to look like, your specific preferences, food intolerances. I mean, there's so many things to consider here that it's impossible for me to tell you, okay, do exactly that. But by following the general rule of eating more highly nutritious, dense, full of vitamins, your greens, your fruits, your yogurts, lean proteins, you can't go wrong with that. Just basically choose the ones that you enjoy, that make you happy, that make you feel full, and you can see yourself sticking to for the foreseeable future. Now, if you absolutely hate chicken and you're forcing chicken down your throat 24 hours a day, how successful do we think that diet's going to be? Probably not very successful, right? But if you love beef, maybe try a leaner beef. Try to figure out, how can I manipulate my diet right now to still allow room for the things that I like, but also focus more on the foods that are going to give me the result that I want. So now that I established my calories, my macros, and what changes I need to make to my diet, I start that day. I'm ready to go. I'm already a few days in. I've made these changes. I'm concentrating on my calories. So now, how do we actually know that this is working? How do we know how to keep track of the changes, if the calories that we're eating are enough or not enough? There's 3 different ways that I personally prefer: daily weigh-ins, and I'll explain why daily, weekly progress photos, and monthly measurements. The reason why I like to do daily weigh-ins is because the more information you have, the more accurate your trends will look. If you weigh yourself on Monday and then the next time you weigh yourself it's on Friday, and you catch yourself on 2 really high days, you're going to feel discouraged, you're going to feel upset, you're going to feel confused. Why is this not working? What's going on here? But if I were to weigh myself daily, you would see that it fluctuates on the daily, but over time, that graph is going to follow a certain trend. That trend is what we need to be paying attention to, not daily weigh-ins. The way that I like to do daily weigh-ins is completely naked, first thing in the morning, after I use a restroom, before I eat or drink anything. Try to keep it consistent every morning around the same time if possible. And what I do is I enter it into a graph, whether it's automatically uploaded by my scale to an app or I personally put it into a graph. The more data points that you enter, the more clear that graph is going to look, and the better idea you're going to have of what's actually happening to your weight. The second thing that I discussed was progress photos. I like to take progress photos because sometimes the scale isn't giving me the whole story. It's saying that I'm gaining weight, that I'm losing weight, that I'm not losing anything. But the progress photos over time will show what's really happening with my clothes, with my appearance, with the different areas that I hope to decrease in size, like my waist. You feel? I like to do these weekly because pretty much every 7 days you'll be looking a little bit different, and some weeks you might not notice a huge difference. The more things you keep track of, the more opportunities you have to see changes. If you just track one thing, it's going to be hard to really know, okay, is it really working or is it not? Like, I don't have anything else to compare it to. So that's why I do daily weigh-ins, progress photos, which again I said every week. Try to do them with the same outfit, with the same lighting, at the same time, at the same day each week, the same eating conditions. So don't do it right after you eat a big bowl of macaroni and cheese, maybe probably before. Keep them in a file to compare them every week. The last thing that I talked about was taking measurements, and measurements are a little bit different. You don't want to take measurements too often because your body doesn't change that fast. So that's why I like to do it every 4 to 6 weeks. We have daily weigh-ins, weekly progress photos, and monthly measurements. We have everything we need to get started with nutrition and with tracking our progress. Where do our workouts come into play? What changes am I going to make to my workouts to work on the goals that I have and to help me lose the weight and to help me cut the fat? Here's the truth about that. nothing changes. Nothing in my workouts changes. So like I told you before, I was trying to gain muscle. I was strength training, bulking, working really hard, strength training really hard, lifting heavy weights. My workouts are not going to change whatsoever. Working out has very little effect on calories burned and therefore has very little effect on actual fat loss. It's a very big misconception that cardio and lifting weights and working out excessively is going to help you burn a ton more calories. The reality is it doesn't. It really isn't that many calories. The calories that your watch gives you are not accurate. They're not the real deal. They're not really how much you're burning. Some of these trackers can be off by significant amounts. Don't rely on working out as a means to cut calories and to put yourself in a deficit. Don't worry about that. Work out for the goals that you have for your physical fitness, for your appearance, for the strength goals that you have. And for me, my goal is to continue getting as strong as possible. So I'm not going to adjust my training and do a ton of cardio and drop the weights. I'm not going to make my entire training cardio based because that isn't going to help me lose weight. And that is not going to give me the muscles that I want. That's not going to give me the strength that I want. That's not going to give me the glutes that I want. Strength training and lifting weights is going to give you that kind of body and give you the shape that you want. When you're trying to lose fat and trying to lose weight, don't think about completely switching around your routine and doing a bunch of cardio based workouts and things like that, because it's not going to do anything that strength training wouldn't do and controlling your calorie intake at the same time. So I'm keeping my workouts the exact same. I work out 4 to 5 times a week, mostly resistance train, kind of like an upper and lower split, and I focus on really getting strong. At this point, we have everything we need. We figured out our calories, we figured out our macros, we figured out how we're going to make sure that happens either by tracking, doing a diet, doing Weight Watchers, whatever method you want to do. We also established what we're going to do for our workouts. We've also established how we're going to keep track of our progress. With all of that being said, we start, right? We do the measurements, we do the weigh-ins, we do the nutrition, we stay on track with the workouts. How do I know this is working? At first, you don't. You can't know if something is working within the first 2 weeks. You need at least 4 solid weeks to enter all that data, to track all your calories or stay on track with your diet and do all your workouts and put in your macros and track all the measurements and track all the weigh-ins. All of those things, you need 4 weeks, about a month, to see what's happened. It takes time. If it was that quick to lose weight, to lose fat, it would be that quick to gain fat. You didn't gain those 20 pounds of fat that you want to lose in 1 week, right? It took a year and a half, all of quarantine. And it's going to take about the same time, if not more, to go the opposite direction. Give yourself time. Don't try to rush this. Give it 4 solid weeks of effort. So let's say you did it. You consistently did everything you needed to do for 4 weeks. Here's how you know you've lost weight. First thing, look at your pictures. Do you see any difference? Do you see any changes in your clothes, in how you look in the pictures? Measurements. You took measurements on day 1 and now you're going to take measurements 4 weeks later. What's the difference? Did anything change? How do I use the weigh-ins for that? Well, because you've tracked your weigh-ins every single day, you have 30 data points to track of. What you want to do is, after you've measured all those 4 weeks, you're going to look at the graph that's been created. What is the graph looking like? Is it going down? Is it going neutral, or is it going up? And based on those 3 things, you're gonna know what's going on. And this is a beautiful thing about this, you guys, is that numbers don't lie. Data doesn't lie. It doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care about anything. It's giving you the facts, the truth. If after all of that, your graph looks about neutral, you're eating the same amount of calories to maintain your weight. You're not losing weight. You're not in a calorie deficit. And also, if you're eating the calories and tracking everything and you've noticed your graph is going up, you're overeating. Whether you think you are or not, you're overeating calories. And if your graph looks like this and it's going downwards, then you can say with confidence that your weight loss journey is moving in the right direction. That's the simple way to know things, if things are working. And the unfortunate part about it is people are not patient enough to give it the 4 weeks to see how it works, to see what's happening. It's just impossible for you to know before that. It's impossible because changes don't happen like that. They don't happen that fast. I know, it sucks. It's annoying to have to wait a month to see if things are working, especially if you're trying to lose weight for a certain trip or whatever, but it is what it is. Once we've established what has happened, if we have been losing, great. Keep doing it. It's working. Basically, just keep repeating what you're doing until you check in again the next 4 weeks, and then you reassess again and see what's happening, and then you make a different decision based off of that. If you're noticing your graph has maintained, well, that means you're still eating at maintenance. So you can do a little bit more of a drop in your calories, maybe 200-300 calories more. Do that for 4 weeks. see what happens. And then again, when you check in again in the next 4 weeks, you can see what you need to change and what needs to happen. Now, if you've noticed your graph is going up, that means you're overeating. So not only are you at maintenance, but you're above maintenance. So we have to drop to maintenance, and then from maintenance, drop back down to a calorie deficit. So that means you're going to have to drop a little bit more calories than someone who's at maintenance. So that means you're eating a lot more than you think you are. Take the information for what it's telling you, and instead of being upset about it or beating yourself up or being judgmental towards yourself, take it as data and think, okay, this is where I'm at. It's working, amazing, keep going. It's not, this is what I need to change. For instance, if you've been maintaining and you're like, I don't know why I haven't lost, I've been tracking my calories, I've been consistent, but you haven't taken into consideration that you have 5 drinks every Saturday. That counts. Even alcohol counts, because alcohol does have calories. If you're not accounting for the 5-6 tablespoons of oil that you put in your pan every day, if you're not tracking that, that could put you out of the deficit. These little things that you don't think about that could add up over time and put you out of that calorie deficit do matter. And again, this is why I reiterate why I love tracking so much, because if I input everything into the app, I can with 100% certainty say I'm eating this amount. And I know for a fact that it's that, because I've measured it, because I've tracked it, because I've weighed it. I know. I'm not guessing. And even me, who's done this for years, I could probably guesstimate pretty well, but I still know that I would have error. I still know that I wouldn't be perfect. I'd forget things. How often do we forget what we ate in the morning? You know? How many tablespoons of sugar did you put in your coffee? How many tablespoons of creamer? How many pieces of bacon did you really have? How many scoops of peanut butter? I mean, all of these different things do matter. So now that you have the result that you have and you're not happy with it, okay, now what do we need to do to make that change? So again, if you're maintaining, drop a little bit. If you're increasing, drop a lot more. And then again, take those measurements, do those weigh-ins, take those pictures, stick to your workouts, whatever the workouts look like for you, and then again, check in 4 weeks. And that's what I do. That's what I do to lose weight. It's that simple. Now, there are other little details, like I try to meet my step goal of 10 to 12,000 steps a day. That's not going to make a huge difference, but it keeps me active, it keeps my body moving, and it gives me an extra bit of calories burned. Not much, not enough to enter it into my nutrition thing, not at all, but just keep me a little bit more active, getting enough sleep, focusing on stress, getting a supportive environment. All of those things matter, of course. But when you're talking about this is what I need to do, this is the exact scientific process I need to do to see these results, this is what I do, and it works. Because a calorie deficit works. It's going to work every time if you're in the actual deficit. Every 4 weeks, check in with yourself, look at the data, look at what's happening, make adjustments, and every 4 weeks you do the same thing until you figure it out, because a lot of this process too is trial and error. Even if you watched the video below and you found a calorie count that was appropriate for you and you consistently accurately tracked it and it's not producing a weight loss result, that means that that number is just not your number. Even if the equation gave it to you, equations cannot possibly account for every single person. That's why it's important to constantly be assessing. Like if you've been tracking the same amount of calories for 2-3 months and you haven't seen a change, that's a pretty safe way to know that those calories are not the right amount for you. And so therefore you would need to change that. I know that a lot of this video is me saying it's going to be different for everybody, but the reality is that's how it is. And that's what makes working out and figuring out a healthy lifestyle a little bit complicated, because there's so many options, but also great because there's options. You don't have to do one thing that you hate. If you don't like keto, you don't have to do keto. If you don't like calorie counting, you don't have to calorie count. There's so many different ways to do this. It gives you a lot of space to do the things that make you happy and make you basically not miserable. I don't want to make this video insanely long, so I just wanted to give a brief overview of what I would do. I basically repeat that process every month until I get to my goal, and it could take 2-3 months, it could take 5 months. It's a beautiful game of waiting and seeing what happens and doing your best every day. It's that simple. Now, is it easy to do? No. Is it fun to do sometimes? No. Is it going to be work? Yes. But isn't everything worth doing that way? Just something to think about. I'll leave you guys with that. I know this was very general and you probably have more questions. Please leave them below and I'll do my best to answer your questions. Obviously, keep in mind that I can't give you exceptionally personalized information because I typically only do that with clients because I know them, I work with them, and I wouldn't want to give you wrong advice, but I'll do my best to answer whatever questions you have in the comments below. Stay with it. You got it. Stay consistent. It's possible for you. You just have to put in the work, have a little bit of patience. You'll get there. You'll get there. I never thought I'd get to the places that I've been with my fitness and nutrition, and I did, and It's possible for everyone watching this video. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you found it helpful. I hope you have a lot more context to work on and you have more information to apply to your journey. And I wish you all the best of luck. You got this. We got this, because I'm in it with you. Please don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you like the video. Comment below if you want to see more videos like this. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.